instead of doing a PowerPoint, you're going to actually learn a little bit about what Helen and Heidi and I have learned over the years. So I think what I'll do is we'll start, do introductions. I think it's past 10 a.m. now.
Yes.
And Helen Cahill, you may have already met or talked to Helen, or if not, maybe you will soon. This is Heidi Jacobs. Also, if you haven't met Heidi yet or talked to her, please do so. And I'm Carol Ann. Between the three of us, we have probably about 70 years, we're embarrassed to say, of working in life plan communities or communities similar to this community. And we've learned a lot from the different people that we've worked with. And so we kind of wanted to share our knowledge, our cumulative knowledge with you today. Do you want to tell them how they can type in questions?
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways you can ask us questions, and we encourage you to ask us questions throughout the presentation. We love to engage with our audience, and if you take your cursor and kind of hover over the bottom of the Zoom, there's either a chat box or a Q&A, and Alicia is here. She will be checking for those questions and passing them along as they come in. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you for joining. And I know there are some people who have maybe never been to Knollwood, or maybe this is their first experience. So we just kind of wanted to tell you a little bit about Knollwood first, just before we start off into our regular program. But Knollwood is a community for people 62 plus. And we have a magnificent location
right next to Rock Creek Park, right across from Rock Creek Park. We're in a very residential neighborhood, so it's very quiet.
Yeah.
Lots of critters running around.
Yeah, we're on 16 acres here, and we have a variety of levels of living. So you can come in at independent living without any care, and then move to higher levels of care as needed. We do occasionally admit people directly into assisted living, but most of the time, because it is a smaller neighborhood, it's reserved for our independent residents who would take first priority. Yeah.
And you do have to be 62 plus to live here. And there are financial requirements. But more important, I think, is the health eligibility. People often think that a community like this is a place to come when you need help versus a place to come before you need help.
Which we're going to talk about a lot today.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. So I just to kind of kick off, we're really, our program today is, kind of when is the right time to start investigating a community. So I like to start off with a story about my mom. She's an advanced planner. And so she started investigating communities when she was in her 60s, maybe even 61 or 62. And I can almost remember the first conversation. And she had been to quite a few communities because I've been in this line of work for a long time. So she was probably exposed more than many of you. But she had got it in her head that she was going to move to a community when she was in her 80s. And so by her late 60s, she had selected a community and joined the waiting list. I kind of did an eye roll when she said she was going to wait till she was 80 because one never knows what will happen. But at the time she was joining the waiting list, I thought, well, we'll discuss more on age and waiting later on. And at one point she was 75, I believe, or 74. She called me up in November, shortly after Thanksgiving, and said, I want you to meet me in Texas at this community in January. And she goes, I want to pick out an apartment. And so I was actually happy, but I was also then kind of concerned because she moved up her timeline quite a few years. I didn't have a problem with that. I was wondering why. In the next breath, she told me that she was having her eyes measured for laser surgery. And during that measuring, they accidentally stumbled on the fact that she has macular degeneration. She had no symptoms. So that was kind of her, I guess, a rude awakening. She's big into emailing, digital photography, volunteer work. She sings in a choir, so she has to be able to read sheet music. Pretty much everything she does requires good vision. She's in a book club. I guess there are books on tape, but anyway, she decided that since she was actually gonna be moving from one state to another. She didn't have any symptoms, but she wanted to jump on an opportunity so that she could get settled, learn her way around a new city. Find new groups, friends, find some new volunteer opportunities before she started having symptoms. That was probably 12 years ago now. She still lives at the community and independent living. She doesn't drive anymore, but that's more related to a bad knee than vision. She's in a lot of clubs. She still doesn't have any symptoms with her macular. But she pretty much every time I talk to her or see her, she tells me how much she loves it and that she was fully able to participate in the community. So that's my mom, an advanced planner. So she did start investigating early, which was a good thing in her case.
There are a lot of benefits to moving to a community, and people, I think, get in their mind that, oh, well, those types of communities are for old, decrepit people, and it's an old stereotype that we really work hard to push past, because that's not the case here at Knollwood. You move to a community like this to take things off your plate, like home maintenance. Maybe a lot of our residents here do like to cook and cook a lot for themselves, but some people are tired of cooking, so you can take advantage of the dining room. And then there's the social aspect, the activities, just meeting new friends, new neighbors, not being quite so isolated as one might be if you were just aging at home. And there are some safety net features even in independent living. So, things like a pull cord in a bathroom, which is just nice peace of mind, just in case.
A rehab here in case you need a knee or hip replacement.
Yeah, exactly.
It's right here on site, but Elise handed me a question. It's kind of
Okay,
ties in
great.
with what you're saying. Our son thinks we're too young. We are 77 and 81.
Oh my gosh.
What do we tell him? Well,
Tell him to watch this webinar because it will be recorded.
yes, yeah, that's a good point. But maybe he's never even been to a community. He might
Yes.
have some other image in his mind
Yeah.
than what Helen is just describing. And 77 and 81, I mean, that might even be kind of pushing it for investigating, because think about it. If you find a community that you like, then you might actually need to join a waiting list. If you think, if you're 77 and 81 today, think about yourself 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Were you doing things differently than today? Were you driving at night? Maybe now you're not. Maybe you decided to have a washer and dryer laundry area added to your first floor so you don't go up and downstairs anymore. And you might already think of how your life may have changed in the last 10 years. So it's not too young to investigate. And that's what I say to you, that's what I would tell him if he were my son. I would say, we're investigating, and when we find a community that we like, we'll show it to you, or maybe have him, look at this webinar, like Heidi says. What would you advise?
Well, I would ask him what that means, like, what does ready mean to him? Because that's what I'll talk about that next. Like, what does it mean to be ready for?
He's just said we're too young. He
Yeah,
didn't
but
ask
what
anything
is-
about ready.
Well,
Why does
What
he think you're
age?
too young?
Okay, what age
Yeah.
does he think is appropriate? Maybe ask that and find out more about that, because there's things that benefit you here, such as Helen was talking about, the social aspects. Maybe you don't want to cook, maybe you have stairs in your home and that's something that's either challenging or scary for you as you start to get unstable. And, we'll even change your light bulbs here at Knollwood. So I think that would benefit somebody at any age, but as Caroline was saying, as you get older, it's tougher to get on a ladder and change a light bulb.
Yeah, and I do see a lot of people who get stuck on this stage, and I know you're gonna talk about, what does ready mean, but people, they get stuck on a number, maybe it's
Right.
77, maybe it's 78. The number is arbitrary. We want you to come and move in when you're active, bring your life with you, contribute to our community here. Because if you decide you're gonna wait until you hit this number, things can change in the interim. Your health can get worse. You may not be eligible for independent living.
That's a good point. Your son, by advising you to wait, could have it so that you make yourself ineligible health-wise because you waited.
Yeah, and it goes hand in hand with what Heidi's gonna talk about, well, I'm not ready, I'm not at this number yet, and so Heidi, go ahead and tell them, something that you've talked a lot, about to us.
Well, I just hear I'm not ready a lot. Those are words we all hear a lot. So I just started wondering what the words, like if you break down the word ready, what does that word mean? Because obviously that word means something different to everybody. Maybe you're waiting for you to have a need. Maybe you're waiting, so you think, I don't really need anyone to take care of me. Well, that would mean that you would need independent living. That's, not, it's too late for independent living when you are
Need.
ready and need something.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times you have to ask yourself what ready is and what you're waiting for. Because I'm ready to come and have the socialization and have my light bulbs changed. They just won't let me in until I'm 62 or greater. Plus, yes, but so yeah, ask yourself, what does ready mean? What does that look like for you? Because I just don't want people to wait too long while they're getting ready.
Sometimes people think that ready involves, and it does, I'm not ready to like, oh my gosh, think of how can I empty my attic that I keep cramming stuff into year after year after year, or I have 4 children and they all left home 20 years ago, but they never took their stuff and I have it here and they won't come get it. So sometimes ready is about stuff too.
Yeah, we hear a lot of people talk about getting kind of caught up in the overwhelming aspect of dealing with their stuff, particularly if you live in a single family home. And if you've lived in that home for a long time, you've acquired a lot of things most often. Not everybody, some people are good about getting rid of stuff, but a lot of people have. And then it can feel overwhelming. How do I deal with this? I can't even think about moving into an apartment when I have all this stuff. Well, reach out to us, put your email in the Q&A or the chat box. Lisa will take it down and we have some resources for you, whether it's you want to donate to Donation Nation or Habitat for Humanity, Salvation Army, Lupus Foundation, or we also recommend working with a move management company. They're going to help you start with tackling all of this stuff, what to donate, if there's items you can sell, helping you communicate with your children about getting their stuff out of your house, or if there's anything you want to give to them, if they'll
They
take
can
it.
help you ship.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to sell something, either on an auction site or a estate sale.
Absolutely, right sizing in general, and it makes it less overwhelming if you start the process early enough, and as you're working with them and continuing to work with us and coming in and seeing our variety of apartment homes, it lines up so nicely and it makes everything smooth and easy and not so stressy.
Once you choose an apartment at Knollwood, or, if you don't choose Knollwood, you choose another apartment, they'll come and they will actually help you choose what you can take to your apartment and what will fit in the next apartment. And then they'll help you figure out what to do with everything left over.
Yeah, some of them have these wonderful floor plan services that help you figure out what's most important to you, where that can fit in your new home. And we definitely recommend reaching out to any of these move management companies because most of them offer a free consultation and you can figure out what variety of services they offer, the cost, and also kind of who you vibe with. It's a big deal making this move and you want to feel like you're in the right hands and you've got the right person on your side.
Absolutely. And if you plan and you do it as go ahead and start now, make the calls to the management companies and find out what they can do for you now while you're preparing and you're researching. And a lot of people, I think, are afraid of moving into a nursing home, right? And so they wait and they don't want to move away from their home. Or if it's a couple, they promise to stay home and take care of each other in the home. And waiting in your home is actually one of the ways that will most likely happen, that you have to go to a nursing home. If you move to independent living while you're still healthy, then there's a very large chance that you could stay in your independent apartment and age in place.
Yeah, you come in independently and we have a lot of people, as things change over time, they might just add a little services on here and there. Maybe they have arthritis and they just need help with their buttons and stuff in the morning getting dressed. That's no biggie. But you have to come in when you're independent, you know?
Or
And
you
it's,
need those little
yes.
bits of help, but it's
Yeah.
here. That's why
Exactly.
people pick communities like this.
yes,
If they have a change later on, but sometimes unexpected change happens. So let's say you come in and you're fine and you don't need any help.
Mhm.
And who knows, maybe in a car accident 2 days later.
Yeah.
You're here, you're a resident, so if something happens to your health, even if it's quickly after you're here versus later, you're still gonna have support here. And that's something that your house can't do for you.
absolutely.
Talking about your right sizing and the stuff, you must do the thing. You must do the thing you think you cannot do.
It is.
And that's a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. So if any of you are Eleanor fans, she's encouraging you to start research.
Yes, exactly.
We're
Well,
getting a few questions. Here's one. I'm ready, but my adult children are not. How do I get them on board?
No, it's very similar to the other one.
Yeah, but it's kind of the same.
Yeah, we hear that a lot. Of course, it's gonna be difficult for your adult children to see you sell their family home.
If it is their house.
If it
they grew
is,
up in, and it
yes,
might
that
not
might be difficult, or it's difficult for them to know that their parents are aging. And to them, it's a milestone. It may mean, oh my goodness, my parents are aging.
They also probably think you're going to a nursing center.
yeah, I would
You
say
gotta
it
bring them.
could be that they just don't have any sense of what this type of community has to offer, what it's like. So bring them in person and for a tour.
A lot of people do that, most of the time people usually come first, but when they want their kids to get on board, because I think. Just telling your daughter or your son or sons and daughters, just say, I want you just to look. I'm not telling you I'm going there, but I want you to just come and look.
Yeah.
Because we're not gonna pressure you when you're here and make you sign and the dotted line. When you're
Sign
just
your
showing-
life away.
Yes.
No.
More times than hearing the children not be ready, I hear the children have peace of mind. They may live out of state, or they just may have concerns about their parents, especially if you maybe can't drive and get to the groceries, like don't worry about your nutrition. If you have stairs in their home, they're gonna worry about you falling. I've fallen downstairs. We all can get
Show them your leg.
our sock feet, have a boot on. Yeah, we all can get our sock feet and stuff. So
Yeah.
it often just gives a peace of mind to your children. Actually, I know that at first it might be hard for them to digest, but what I hear way more often is once you're here, they have peace of mind, but they're also excited to see you so involved in all the activities and doing
Oh,
things.
yeah, absolutely. And we have people who move in who say, oh, I thought I was busy before and now my schedule is
That's
packed
amazing.
full because they've made new friends. They're taking advantage of the variety of in-house as well as activities outside the trip that our residents go on.
Because whatever you do, if you live in this region, you're still gonna do it. If you're coming from Florida, your life may change a little.
Yes.
But if you're around here, you may have your
Your
favorite
book
boutique
club.
or your book club or your temple or, who knows, your racket club. You may still have your favorite places nearby. And you're not gonna give that up. You might just find that your calendar gets more full with additional stuff that you never thought about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This one is, there's kind of two questions that are almost the same.
Okay.
If we come look at Knollwood soon and like it, how soon should we get on the waiting list? We can't move this year. And then when is the right time to get on the waiting list?
Okay. So we can't move this year. That's great because we can't take you this year.
Yeah.
We have like 2 available
We have a room
apartments.
closet. It
So,
might fit a bed.
My vehicle fit in the room closet.
yes, I think any of us, when we tour people and they like it, we say, then you need to get on the waiting list. Our waiting list is broken up by apartment size interest. So you're not on the same waiting. If you're looking for a larger 2-bedroom, you're not on the same waiting list as someone for a small 1-bedroom. But it just means that we call you when we know something is coming down the pipeline. And then when it's available to show, we call and get you in here to see it.
And it might not be right for you.
And that's
Or maybe
okay.
you're on a cruise and you can't come in when we call.
That's
We'll
okay.
call the next person.
Yeah, there's no penalty when you say no, but we always recommend coming in and seeing if you can, because a lot of people get stuck on a particular floor plan or apartment size. And this is the only one I can take. Well, if you come in and see more, it actually helps you understand that there are a variety of apartment sizes that can probably meet your interests. And work for your lifestyle. We had a couple that Carrie Ann worked with who came in and saw, I don't know, 5 different apartments. Ended up taking one like 800 square feet smaller than they originally intended. But it, not only does it fit their needs, it's a beautiful apartment, and they were able to get in here. They wanted to be a part of our community. They're active and involved
They
and
still work and they needed a space enough for 2 office setups,
Mhm.
plus guests, plus their own and their art collection.
Yeah. On the flip side, if you wait, we have some people who are like, I need the largest thing. And then when they get in here, they're not as active and we had a couple who moved in and the wife does some things in our community, but they did not have the easiest time when they got in because she kept saying, I need the biggest 2-bedroom plus den. And we just don't have the time. So they don't come available as often.
This is good for relating to that couple. This is a Lyndon Johnson quote. Don't ask me why I'm getting all these presidential quotes. But they are. Yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or to lose. And that couple came close to losing, but I have an example of a couple that did lose.
Yeah.
They started investigating Knollwood 20 years ago. They got on the waiting list like 19 years ago. They were in their late 60s, early 70s back then. And fast forwarded, finally in 2022, they decide they're ready. Okay. But their situation, he has a terminal illness, actually diagnosed like days after he decided they were ready.
Yes.
So maybe he knew something was wrong, I don't know. And his wife is bedridden. Okay. So neither are qualified for independent living. And their plan was always to stay together. They might not even be able to find a spot in the same community. One of their children is now worried that they might not even be able to be in the same place anymore.
Which is devastating, of course.
It's devastating to the children as well as to the couple.
Yeah.
So that's a good example of waiting too long. Action, the foundational key to all success.
Yeah.
Take action.
And I think, I don't have their record pulled up, but I think many times when we called them to offer them apartments, they didn't even bother to come in. It was just, no, we're
Yes.
not ready. And I know, I don't want to speak for all of us, but I think it's fair to say we all have worked with people who, the more that they've come in, it's opened their minds to coming to how this move can be achieved, and it's not so overwhelming. And it helps, it really helps to come in and see the different apartments when we call you for an opportunity. It really, really does.
And then someone else had a question. I have a dog. Are dogs allowed? Yes. In independent living, you're capable of safely and wisely running a household, and that includes you've got to be running and taking care of your pet.
That's right.
So, yeah.
So if you join the wait list, I think what happened with your couple who waited too long is I think people want to have a plan in place, like insurance.
Yes.
And so, okay, I investigated, I joined a place. It's put to bed. I'm done. We've got a plan for 20 years from now. And I think that's sometimes
Don't
what
do that.
happens as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's good, to come in and join the wait list, but also start your downsizing and come and see what we have. And then you'll see that the sooner you get here, the more you get to enjoy all of the community has to offer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I liked your insurance.
Well, all right. So I'm going to ask everybody in the audience, raise your hand if you have auto insurance. Raise your hand if you have some type of homeowner's insurance.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Renters.
There you go.
Okay. Yes. So what insurance do you have for your future? Okay, a community like Knollwood gives peace of mind. And, that's kind of insurance that should you have a health decline after residency, you or your family will not have to face what now? Now, what do we do? So people who come to Knollwood and live here, and then if they do have that health, whether it's a decline or maybe something unexpected and sudden, they're not facing the now what, and neither are their kids. There's staff at Knollwood saying, okay, rehab or assisted living or memory care or something. But basically, can you buy auto insurance after your car is smashed?
I think so.
Opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. This is not a presidential person. This was Milton Berle. Opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, some people do, they put the cart before the horse, they are like, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff to do, but I think Heidi has a really nice way to break it down.
Yeah, it's easy, it's just steps. I like to make lists. And sometimes I break my list down really small so I can start checking things off and feeling accomplished. So step one is to do your research. Research different communities and find out which one might be the best fit for you.
Yeah,
Watch a webinar like today.
yeah, get to know their culture and stuff, and what's a good way to see if it's a good community for you?
Take a tour.
Okay,
Oh, that's the second step.
The best thing to do is to take a tour.
Well, actually, no, you have to call
Call,
and set up your
schedule it.
tour. Sorry.
Don't-
Don't walk in.
don't walk in.
We
We
might
I
not
love you, but please don't just
We
walk
don't
in.
do walk-ins. Well, we will if we're available, but we all stay very scheduled with
Yes.
our tours. So we'd love it if you
All right.
called or emailed.
My marker's not working very good here.
All right, on to the purple.
Switching.
It's all right.
Okay. So step 2 is call us and schedule a tour.
Yeah.
Bring in your family member who isn't
Yeah, who's
understanding your
skeptical.
If
decision.
you have
Mhm.
somebody that's not on board, bring them in and they will see why. And step 3, take a tour. Come meet us.
And then do the tour, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And there's more steps to keep going, but you start
you
there.
don't need to know the other
Yes.
steps now.
Yeah, just keep starting.
Start
Just
with
start
these
there.
3.
You already get to check one off. Number 1, you've watched this webinar, you're investigating now.
See?
So yay, we're
When
working
you
towards
tackle
it.
things one step at a time, it's easier.
Absolutely.
And we're still getting more questions.
Yeah,
This is
questions
great. Yeah.
galore. Great.
Oh, so this is interesting. This is how do you measure resident satisfaction in independent living? Well, I think there's several ways. One is occupancy. We have 2 apartments that are available right now. So we wouldn't have 2 available if people weren't happy. Pretty much, on a weekly basis, we have residents telling us, they're referring their friends or even sometimes in-laws or other family members. So that's a second way that we measure. We actually do satisfaction surveys. That's a third way that we measure. There is a resident association and the president and vice president of the resident association attend the board meetings. The president is actually a voting board member. So we have, what other ways do you think we measure? Oh, the dining has satisfaction
Mhm.
surveys.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get your feedback to the appropriate parties here at Knollwood. As a resident, I think the biggest thing, like Caroline mentioned, is that the president of the Knollwood Residents Association sits on the board and is a voting member. So that should give residents peace of mind that their voice is heard. To me, that's huge. And that's something I always stress to people, right?
There's absolutely a lot of, the residents have a lot of say. A lot of, they get to. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
more
they
than
do.
anywhere I've worked.
More than
before.
everywhere I've worked before, actually, which is great. They have a lot of say in how they want their home to be. But what makes me realize this is such a great community is when I have people coming to meet with me and their mom or dad lived here.
That's true.
Most
Yeah.
places that I have worked, if your mom or dad lived there,
They have to
they're
be satisfied.
very unhappy. But the fact that they're wanting to move into a place their mom and dad, that
Yes,
that
it left them.
I have never seen that in my career before, to be honest with you.
And I also think one thing that's neat is because it's hard for us to show apartments because they're all lived in. We have residents who will allow us, setting it up with them, with their permission to come in and show people their apartment too. And, it's kind of a way to meet people who live here as well when you're touring, because you'll see resident apartments. But if they weren't happy and know they wouldn't want us coming in with strangers showing their apartment as well. So I think I think that's a measure of satisfaction.
One more thing I'm gonna say real quick on that. I love giving tours at Knollwood. I love running into our residents on the elevator or in like the tech lab or the art room. I actually try to go like track down some residents and then just let them talk to my tour because they're gonna tell you actually how much they love it here and all the activities they do and all the friends that they have met. So you'll find out when you come to work.
That's
Yes.
right. And again, if you need to reach us to set up a tour, you can go to our website, which is knollwoodcommunity.org. Or you can email us through our website, or you can just call us.
What's the number?
202
541.
541-0149.
That's right.
She's laughing because one time I put my cell phone, my personal
She
cell phone
did.
number up.
She did. Which, you know, occasionally we may give that out to one of our customers we're working
But we
with,
don't
but not to.
Put
we
it on
don't-
a rough webinar.
Yes, yes. Yep,
Yeah.
knollwoodcommunity.org. You
Yeah.
can always go there. Mhm.
So someone sent in this question just a minute ago, but I want to talk about the I'm not ready syndrome first. And this kind of ties into satisfaction too. But I hear the words I'm not ready so many times that it actually goes in one ear and out the other. And I refer to it as the I'm not ready syndrome because pretty much everyone has it. And the thing is though, Knollwood doesn't have apartments available, and everybody who lived here at one time was in that syndrome. So the syndrome is fake. And if people really weren't ready, Knollwood would have a lot of open apartments, and we don't. But someone asked, if I get on the waiting list and an apartment comes up and I'm not ready, you're ready. Or I don't like the apartment. Well, maybe you like it, maybe not. Maybe it's too small, maybe it's too big, or maybe you had a vacation planned and you can't come look. You're not going to be moved to the end of the list.
Yeah.
We'll go on to the people after you on the list for that apartment, but you'll be called again. Keep in mind though, there can be, even though we don't penalize you for not taking an apartment when one is open, you could actually penalize yourself accidentally, because if you have a health change, even though you're on the waiting list, you may become ineligible. So
Like that
keep that
couple
in
you
mind.
talked about.
Yeah.
No, we don't bump you to the bottom. We just move on to the next. But don't just keep saying no, no, no. Because you could be working against yourself in the long run.
The timing's probably never gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
Like you're probably not gonna sell your house.
Oh, hi, do you have an apartment for me in the spring? Because that's when I want to sell my house.
No, her person wants her to get an apartment for them in May of next year.
Oh, okay, so you're
This is
working
actually
on.
real, a real
Yes,
person
so-
said this.
The timing's not gonna be perfect. I think that if you find an apartment maybe 6 months before, then that would be ideal, actually.
That's a sign from above.
It really is. So that's one thing I think that you would wanna know going through this process. Is the timing has to be a little bit flexible. I have people that I'm working with that are gonna sell their homes, so they're gonna have to possibly lease somewhere for a little while. I have people that are waiting to put their homes on the market. And then that's all a tricky thing, but if you want your home to sell the exact same time that you're gonna be able to move into Knollwood, it's not likely.
It does happen.
It
It
does
does
happen,
happen.
but it can be hard to line it up. And
Right,
I think a lot of.
I think it's not as much lining up the selling with the move, it's lining up the apartment that you want.
right,
Yes.
right.
Because we don't usually have people facing trouble selling their
No.
house. It's usually,
They sell them very quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we haven't got them on our, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was just my point.
Yeah, I think one thing we definitely do not recommend, not to be negative, but like, please don't call us and be like, hey, my house just sold. Do you have an apartment for me? Please don't do that. Please don't do that.
yeah, the time to pick out an apartment here, well, after you've been on the waiting list, is not when your house is sold. You actually get an apartment. That's a
And-
step before listing your house.
Yes.
Some of the organizers or actually some of the realtors
Yeah,
and downsizers actually advise people to, if you can, move first and sell second,
Mhm.
because a lot of homes, condos, houses, if they've been lived in for a long time, while you may love your furniture, somebody who is 30 or 40 that might be buying your house might be more consumed by looking at your items and not relating to them versus looking at a house that is either empty or staged. So it used to be never sell an empty house, but the market has changed a lot. So
Yeah.
if you need, the advice of a mover organizer, they often have a lot of experience with that. You can, give us a call and we can email you our list of organizers and right sizers because they help with staging.
They do. And another good resource that we have that I would recommend is we recently, not too long ago, did a webinar with Kira Epstein from Washington Fine Property. She's a local realtor and she talks about some of these things that we've touched on today, like people getting caught up in, I need to sell in the spring market. Around here, it doesn't matter when you sell, you're as long as you do the right things, your home will sell. People have this idea like the spring is the time to sell. No, so don't.
The
don't
market
go
is.
hide and ask for May. for an
The house
apartment.
is usually, or the market is usually flooded with new listings in the spring. And buyers have more choices. If people list their house in November, December, January, the buyers that are looking at that time are serious.
Yes, and if you do what you need to do to prep your home for the market, it will sell. If you're working with a good realtor. So if you want just some friendly advice and some tips and tricks, that webinar was recorded and can be found on our website, knollwoodcommunity.org.
We have a lot of questions here.
All right. let's hit the
So
questions.
please go over the requirements to get on the waiting list. Well, first of all, you still have to be in good health, physically and cognitively.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you have a disability. Maybe you're about to get a knee replacement, use a walker. That's okay. But health and disability are not the same thing, but you have to be in good health, cognitive and physical. And we do a financial review, a preliminary one. It's non-invasive, it's easy to do, it's really off the top of your head type items. Because we just want to make sure that you wouldn't be overextending yourself. And then once there is no health interview to get on the list. This is just us telling you, you have to be in good health. So getting on the waiting list, you fill out an application, it's a couple pages. It's things that you know off the top of your head, like your birth date.
Emergency contacts.
Yeah, like if we need to reach you on the waiting list and we can't reach you, then we will, we want a secondary backup contact for you if we need to call you to see an apartment. It's $5,000 to join the waiting list. 1,500 of it is non-refundable if you change your mind. But it's all going to go toward your entry fee when you take an apartment. Or if we were to decline you for health or financial reasons, we would give it all back. Somebody says, can you repeat our phone number again?
Yeah, it's 202-541-0149. That's the main marketing line. Carol Ann or Lacey can pick it up and schedule you an appointment. Please don't hesitate to call.
And it says you'll be available around Thanksgiving. Go ahead and schedule now. Our schedules
Yes.
get crazy. So
Please.
Appointments.
go ahead and schedule your
Call us
appointment now.
and set it up now because we are not here on Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
We're usually not here on that Saturday after. We're sometimes not here on the Friday after,
Mhm.
but if you are coming up, we may be able to make accommodations for you, but definitely call us like this
Now.
week.
I also typed it in the chat. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa put our phone number in the chat if you want to look at that. Let's see, must be the entry be paid all at once. Actually, it's not, it's paid in stages. Most of the time, unless you want one of our 2 apartments we have available right now, you would join the waiting list. Then when you say, yes, I want that apartment, there's another deposit that you put down. And then you go through an actual health review. And then when you actually take possession of your apartment, you're going to pay the balance due less your prior deposit or deposits. I want to live in a diverse and stimulating community. Is Knollwood military, mostly military? No, it's not. It's actually founded by the military, but there's civilians, government, employees. There are some military here.
Mhm.
There might be some military family. But there's journalists, there's educators, there's doctors, there's,
Yeah, all
you know,
kinds of
writers.
people.
There's actually a lot of interesting folks here, like just have had intriguing lives. That have, I think have had diverse lives.
Yeah, and if you want to get a, little sense of the culture and what kind of people live here, come in, tour with us, and then we can then set up in the future a lunch with some of our residents, so you can see it's not just these military folks, it's people who have done all kinds of things.
And and you might want to meet some people that were in the military, maybe
Yeah,
you
we
were,
can do that
you
too.
know.
Mhm.
But yeah, what Helen is saying is right. We don't set up a lunch with you for residents on your first visit,
Okay.
because we don't know you yet, so we don't know. Well, we're only gonna set up lunch with residents too, if we know that you're actually still health eligible. So we don't want to mislead you. But if we know that you're someone who likes to go walking in Rock Creek Park, then we're gonna make sure that someone who's joining you for lunch maybe is someone with a similar interest. Or maybe you're a bookworm, and we might, invite some people who we know are part of the book club here.
Do you have information on downsizing helpers that residents refer? Yes, so a lot of the ones that we're speaking of, the ones that we refer the most are actually the ones that our residents have used, and we've gotten really great feedback.
Yeah, so you can email us or call us, and we can either email these to you if you like digital, but we can also snail mail. We can print out copies and snail mail.
I'll hand you one if you come tour with me.
Yeah. So this person asked, or they said, I have a pacemaker, otherwise healthy, and no Alzheimer's. Have I waited too long to consider Knollwood? No, you haven't waited too long. But like, come now, come tour with us now. Because it's great that you have your pacemaker, and good that there's no signs of dementia or anything, but come now, come tour this now.
Before you have something.
Yes,
else
come
happen.
tour this now, get on our waiting list before anything else happens. It's like Caroline mentioned before, we've had people who, I'm working with a couple, and the woman in the couple, she had a reaction to her COVID booster that resulted in nerve damage, and now she uses a walker where she wasn't previously. She's doing physical therapy and rehab to regain some of that strength. She was not ineligible because she had the walker, but that that scared them, and that's why they reached out to us and started work. That's how I got connected with them. So come now before anything worse happens, please. Okay.
So we have another question. It is, I live in another state. Can I stay to come for a week or so to see if the community is a good fit? Knollwood does have guest rooms, but you're not usually going to tie them up
Not
for that long of a time, because the purpose of the guest rooms is really for residents, friends, and family. A lot of people have their own guests and they're stay with them. But I know for example, when I go see my mom, I can stay with her if I wanted to in her apartment. She has enough space, but I actually prefer to get a guest room at my mom's community, just because sometimes if we're together 24/7, we might butt heads. So it gives us a little bit of space. But yeah, I mean, we might have you come and stay overnight or something, or definitely come and have lunch or dinner with some people who live here, come visit a couple times. So you can meet people, but we were not gonna have somebody come, because we're not like a vacation resort for the public. The purpose of our guest rooms is really so that people who live here, we want them available for their friends.
And they stay pretty booked.
Yeah, they
Yes,
do.
that's true.
Yeah, I guess our guests will stay pretty booked.
So this question is about health versus disability. It talks about the person's working, driving on kidney dialysis at a nearby center. Can this be considered? Possibly. Sometimes end stage illnesses may not be a candidate for independent living, but it's definitely you want to come and talk and investigate really soon.
Yeah.
Case by
Call
case.
Carol Ann, schedule an appointment with her.
And is that a couple?
It doesn't say.
Okay,
Yeah, don't know, but
Because
yeah, just
couples
call.
sometimes are a little different too, because if
Yeah.
he has, maybe he or she has a spouse that can drive them back and
Well,
forth.
no, I
with the
said they're
houses.
still driving though.
Oh,
I'm
so
not
you're-
worried about
Oh,
that.
gotcha.
It just is the dialysis and
Gotcha.
it really depends, what's your prognosis.
Yeah.
This one I think we addressed.
I guess I just
Alright.
had people on dialysis and the only issues I've ever had was the transportation.
But
So-
there comes a point where near the end, I mean, you
Right.
might not be a healthy person. So, we're, for independent living, somebody who is going to be declining quickly. Even if they're not declined now, but it's known and expected, that may make someone ineligible.
Yeah.
So that's very case by case for
Yeah,
something.
come in and talk to us because it is case by case. Yeah.
So I-
This
Did
has
we
been a
go through
wonderful
all of
webinar.
our,
I think we went through everything. If you have any last minute questions, key them in now, please.
because we can tell you what's happening next.
Yeah, what's happening
So-
next?
For those of you who are already on our mailing list, not waiting list, but if you're on our waiting list, you're definitely on our mailing list. But those of you who've been receiving mail from us in the past, either email or digital, if you receive email, you'll get an invitation to our October webinar, which I think is Meet the Resident. No, I know, it's the introduction to Knollwood.
October 18th.
Yeah.
Intro to Knollwood.
Hopefully you'll come for a tour first and won't need that one, but you never know. And then in the snail mail as well as digital mail, we're sending out a special invitation. I can tell you what it's for, but watch your US postal mail and watch your digital email for a special invitation from Knollwood, also related to October, but not related to the webinar.
It's one of my favorite events we have here, so check your mailbox.
And we hope you will call us to come
Schedule a
and
tour.
tour or a retour.
Number 2, do it. Do number 2 today. Go ahead. Just keep the ball rolling. You're doing it.
Yes.
And thank you. And again, this is a recorded webinar, so it's going to eventually be back up on our website. If you want to watch this again, you might not. But you may want to refer a family member or friend, acquaintance to watch it. And there are other webinars. We record them when we do them. So you're going to see several other webinars recorded on our website. And just one note that we do a Meet the Residents webinar about 3 or 4 times a year. So you may see several
I
webinars
think there's
that say
5
Meet the
or 6
Residents.
on there.
but you're meeting
They're all
different
different.
people all the time. So none of those are the same.
Yes.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. See you guys next time.